All right, thank you guys for coming here tonight. We're going to start getting settled right now, and we're going to get going in the next couple minutes. Thank you guys for coming out, and we're going to take audience questions. You're free to write them out, or just we can take a question and answer afterwards. We're going to try to keep it to about 60 minutes of our questions, and then we'll see if we have some more questions after that. Thank you. That's okay. We'll figure something out. Yeah. We'll have some slips of paper that people can write it on. And if you do have any questions, we'll have you turn them in at this table right here, and hopefully do it pretty early on in the process, and that way we'll cut off the questions as soon as we get our questions started here. No, we'll announce when we're officially starting. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to get started now, so thank you guys.
All right, I'm going to be blatantly reading off of the screen, so just bear with me. So welcome. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara for allowing us to hold this community forum here. Thank you to Gary Atkins for providing sound and Sylvia Uribe for live translation. And lastly, thank you to the high school journalists with DP News who are recording and live streaming this event, which will be available on YouTube. There are 5 candidates tonight representing 3 districts for Santa Barbara Unified School District Board. Running for Trustee Area 2, we have Sunita Beal, the newest member of the board who took Virginia Alvarez's seat in January. Beal is running against John Robertson, who will not be joining us tonight. In Trustee Area 3, we have 3 candidates here tonight. Bill Banning, who's been a board member for about the past 2 years, and his 2 challengers, former special education teacher Chris Rukowski and educator and artist Felice Cohen. Felice may have to leave us early tonight to celebrate Rosh Hashanah, but she will be able to be here for a portion of the night. And finally, for Trustee Area...
Our intention with this forum here tonight is to give you, the voters, an opportunity to hear what these candidates have to say about
running for this.
An opportunity to hear what these candidates have to say about
running for the school board in Santa Barbara to bring excellence. I feel that I am bringing the genius.
Which every kid in Santa Barbara would.
Bringing the genius.
Which every kid in Santa Barbara would walk away with a custom high-end guitar. Which every kid in Santa Barbara would walk away with a custom high-end guitar. But having a unique experience from being on the inside. And again, just little mundane things of being in and around the school board. I have not seen anything close to being addressing the needs of the students. And when you try to be exceptional as a teacher and understanding the demographics of what the teachers go for, we can't afford to have teachers, necessarily buy homes in Santa Barbara. So they have to commute 45 minutes to an hour. And why does a teacher want to commute 45 minutes to an hour in each direction when they're not treated the way they should be? Or like they don't feel supported, they don't feel like they can go out and do things that are exceptional because they provide roadblocks at every step of the way. And as someone who has experienced this firsthand, I would know walking in day one what I'm looking at, where everyone's still kind of either trying to figure out what's going on or hasn't solved the problem when they've been on the school board. So this is why I feel like I could be of service to the Santa Barbara Unified School District.
Thank you. And Bill, and if you guys could just speak into the mic, it's better for our live stream and for our sound, so we don't get a feedback.
All right. Well, my name's Bill Banning. I live in District 3 near the intersection of Garden and State Street, up in that area. Why I want to be on the school board is because I have a 40-year career in education. I retired in 2017 as the superintendent of Goleta School District. I've been a teacher and an administrator. I've been a teacher union member, and I've been a district negotiator. I've been a school principal and a district human resources officer. I've been an advocate for one-on-one digital devices, and I've been a parent concerned with too much screen time. I've been a superintendent and a board member. Although I'm retired as a superintendent, I currently partner in a highly respected executive search and leadership development firm that supports California school boards in working well together and recruiting and hiring their superintendents. The biggest why here, however, is that I've given my career to public education. Started as a teacher when I was 22 years old, and it's been the passion of my life. It's been something that I have dedicated my entire career to, and now that I'm retired, I'm in a beautiful city, a beautiful place with great schools and great teachers, and I have an opportunity to give back. And so that's the idea behind my candidacy. I can give back. I bring expertise to the school board, probably among the most unique qualifications that you'll ever see on a school board. Thanks.
Sunita?
Hi, my name is Sunita Beal. I am a full-time physician at UCSB, but before I start, I apologize, I did not get dressed up. I came from work, it's been a busy day, so this is what I get to wear every day. So I'm a full-time physician at UCSB. I work with students there, their health issues, their mental health issues. I'm a parent. I have 2 children that graduated from the Santa Barbara Unified School District. My daughter just graduated from high school, and that is one of the reasons why I have time to be on the school board, because I like to do a lot of things. I like to be involved in the community, and this is what I've chosen to do. I have actually always been involved in schools. When my children were young, they were at Peabody. I helped run the after-school program and develop it. And then when they went to high school, COVID started, and I spoke to the district about medical issues in regard to COVID. And then I got involved in the literacy effort to change their curriculum. And then I got involved in the local control accountability plan. I was on that advisory committee. This is the 3rd year I've been on there. So when a board position opened up in January, Kate Ford contacted me and said, you are really interested in district matters and you have critical thinking skills. You should apply. And I did, and actually I was a little surprised I was appointed. And I have been there for 6 months. I'm a fast learner. I'm learning a lot about education, and actually I would like to have a culture of engagement in the school so students want to be in school.
If I were elected, I would contribute by 1. With the board, I will add accountability to the district by setting clear, measurable goals that are focused on student results. 2, I will bring financial acumen to the board. I'm a numbers person. I have an MBA from UCLA. I have a certificate in education finance from Georgetown. And I've also worked in business. 3, I am collaborative. I will listen. And I hope to give families, teachers, and staff more opportunities to give input to our district. I'm excited for this conversation, and thank you for giving me the chance to be here tonight.
Thank you, all the candidates. Now we're going to move on to some more directed questions, and we're going to start with some topics, cost of living. So we're going to start with Celeste and work our way back down this way. So Celeste, teachers have come to board meetings with emotional stories about the cost of living and not being able to afford to stay. How would you address those concerns about the high cost of living for Santa Barbara teachers?
That is a huge concern. I think we need to look at other districts and best practices for how we can ensure that our teachers can live here. For example, many districts are increasing pay for our earliest teachers, 0 to 5, when teachers first join the district, because that is when teachers are paid the least, and also when our teachers really develop their skills and become great teachers. We don't want to lose our early, the teachers who are just starting their careers in Santa Barbara Unified School District. So that's one example of an approach to ensure that teachers can live in our high-cost city.
Sunita, and then let me know if you'd like me to re-ask the question.
No, I've got it. So yes, the cost of living is an issue, and actually when I was appointed to the board, when I interviewed, I said teachers need a living wage. So as everybody knows, that's not just teachers. There are many people in Santa Barbara who are really trying to live in the city, can't afford the rents, can't afford the cost of living. So it's more than just teachers. I know that as a board, we are trying to develop affordable housing. So I think that is something, but that will take time. So the other thought I've had is we are part of a fairly wealthy community that cares about its citizens. So I've thought, and this is a group thing, I'm part of a board, and I so appreciate that Celeste has all this financial acumen, because that's a good strength, is do we need to develop a fund where we can give stipends to teachers that, you know, increasing salary is, as you may have heard, really cuts into the school budget. And salary is more than just we pay, it's also pensions and all this other stuff. But stipends may be a good way to keep our newest teachers, to help subsidize housing when the economy has a problem, and it's money that we can give out. So I think, should we have an endowment, affordable housing, all sorts of attractive benefits that keep teachers here, because it can't all be about money.
Thank you. And Bill, how would you address the cost of living concerns?
Okay, well, we've heard a couple of really important things. The financial acumen is a huge piece. The district budget is challenging to provide the resources that we need. First off, I want to go back and say the teachers are absolutely right. It's crazy to live in this community. The moral authority behind them asking for a living wage is absolute, and we need to find a way to help them with that. I support the teachers' desire to increase their salaries, but I also want to look at other things that we can do. First of all, to help afford that, we have to look at strategically at our budget and figure out where we can make changes and where we can save money. We're working on affordable housing. I think you've heard a little bit about that. Some of it is really moving right along. There's a vacant school right now, Parma School, where we're working with the Santa Barbara Housing Authority that will provide, I believe it's 30 units right away, and then we're looking at longer term things. But I'll also say that that's not going to solve the problem in the short term. The problem in the short term is going to be built around creating the right relationship and atmosphere in terms of having discussion and transparent discussion about what we can afford and how we can afford more and how we can do that. It doesn't happen all the time when it's adversarial and it's difficult. A reason for it to be, but I think we can do a better job in working with the teachers on a transparent and collaborative basis.
Thank you. And Chris?
So I'd first start off with not petitioning the state to pay them less than what they're worth. I'd start there. Second thing is I believe that actions speak louder than words, and when you've had a year plus to work with teachers on this subject and you have seen the animosity in both the student board meeting or the school board meetings and whatnot, it's not coming. So as far as a local who's been here for 23 years, you know how the housing market works. It's going to be very expensive. And I don't know if the average teacher is going to want to come in here and afford a house on a $75,000 salary. It's just not probably going to happen. So then the question is, why would they want to come here? We're generally altruistic people. We want to help the community. That's what we're here for. We love to serve. So there's certain concessions we're willing to live with in order to help children. And when basic needs aren't being met on both sides, you have to be doing things that in the past you have not been comfortable with, but we have to find a way to make it work. And someone who is a teacher and a parent and has lived here, I know what would be reasonable for a concession that we can provide teachers, and so we can get teachers because again, most of them are going to have to commute an hour in each direction. So why are they going to want to commute in an hour in each direction? We're going to have to make it worth their time, and we may not, at this stage, I don't think the housing is going to come instantly. We've had multiple times for housing. We have to figure out ways more recent. We have to do it now. It's not something we can do in 3, 4, 5, 10 years from now. It has to be done sooner rather than later.
Thank you. And Felice?
Thank you very much. Thank you. I just would like to say that I certainly appreciate all the opinions and the views that you've had that we're hearing, because my sentiment is the same. Every one of you had spoken something that I am also in support of. The relationship between the teachers and the board is not a good one. There is no communication. Teachers are extremely frustrated. I personally know of 3 teachers. I work at Franklin Elementary School, and 3 of the teachers had moved out of town, and they live in Santa Maria, Oxnard. It's an hour and a half ride, one way. Now, why would somebody would like to drive such a distance and not be contented and not be happy and not have their needs met? So communication has to improve greatly. The budget needs to be looked into. I totally agree with all of the things you have said. Housing is important. Implementation of programs that are costly need to be looked into. We need to look at equality. We need to look at equity for everyone. Some adjustments need to be made, but we really need to be sincere and honest of how deep we want to go into it and what we are willing to give up and what we are willing to negotiate upon. I think that it could be a workable relationship. I need to realize that we come from different sources and we need to have an open mind and open heart to really make things happen and have the courage to change them. Thank you.
Thank you. On a similar related note, this past year's contract negotiations with both unions were a big issue and definitely took up a lot of time at board meetings. One thing that teachers and staff have reported is feeling an erosion of trust between staff and school district admin, the board, and the superintendent. How do you view Superintendent Hilda Maldonado's leadership, and how would you suggest rebuilding trust with staff in this district?
Would you like me to go first?
Yes,
I would
we'll
love
start
to.
with you.
Unfortunately, it's a sad state of affairs, and I don't mean to be impolite about it, but there is absolutely no respect and no opportunities to voice the teachers' opinions at the meetings. The teachers are extremely frustrated. Their voices are not heard. Community is not able to express their opinions or their thoughts and feelings about what changes they would like to see in administration and also in the school district. Parents should have the right to speak their minds. And respect is a big thing. Having accountability for actions is important. Being valued is important, and that's not happening right now. So people are extremely frustrated, and we are here to help make things better and allow individuals to express their thoughts and feelings, but also be accountable and respectful. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Phyllis. Chris?
So nothing personal, because I don't think she's a bad person, but there's an old adage in baseball, you can't make the all-star team if you can't hit a pitch. Right. And when the first initial survey came out, that she had a 5% approval rating with teachers who are highly educated and know what they're doing. So when 5% of people who know what they're doing, who work within it day to day, are saying that's what her approval rate is, and it hasn't gotten better, because I mean, that's one of the reasons why I left. It's also one of the reasons why I'm friends with a lot of teachers, and they're still on the same boat. There's just a total void of leadership. There's a total echo chamber. There's no trust whatsoever. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. And then again, if you're hired to be a leader of a district and they have to hire a leadership coach to teach the leader to be a leader, that's a problem from the get-go. I mean, that's also why we have 2 new members who didn't get elected who are now sitting here because they filled in for people who hired her and has now become an issue. So these are things that need to be addressed. We need to have a voice in the community that's represented by the community, elected by the communities, and moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Bill?
So what I'd like to say about this is that one of the primary and most important jobs that the school board has is to evaluate the superintendent. Evaluating the superintendent, much like evaluating teachers or any other employee, depends on having really clear goals and clear expectations and clear ways to say, yes, this is what your goal is, this is what you're supposed to be doing, this is how we're assessing you do that. I will say that when I arrived, there were concerns, and I'm not going to deny that there are concerns here with the leadership. But I also will tell you that we are in desperate need to make sure that the school board has policies and procedures around evaluation that are fair to the superintendent and fair to the people that are experiencing the concerns. We need to hear more, we need to understand what those concerns are, and we need to have a way to have specific goals that the superintendent can use to address those concerns. Without them, I imagine everyone in here has been in a place where you've been evaluated by somebody that didn't understand exactly what your job was and didn't give you fair direction of how to fix things. For me, the most important thing in responding to this question is understanding that the board's role is to evaluate the superintendent with measurable goals that we can say these are the things that matter and you need to be doing these things well.
Thank you, Bill. Sunita?
Like Bill, I have been on the board for during this time of negotiation, and it has been a difficult time to be on the board and to have a real conversation, because by the time I got there in January, and this started before January, there was a great deal of anger. And the few times I did reach out to people, it was just anger. It wasn't really a conversation. So I understand two things. I understand that there is a great deal of, like people have said, distrust and anger. We need, a lot of requests to have transparency, to have real conversations, and to get feedback. And I'm committed to that, because I do think that we can't make decisions without knowing what people need and what they want. And so that has to happen. It wasn't happening in that atmosphere, so I'm looking forward to the future to have those conversations. I think the question that was asked of the board, so both Bill and I are seated on the board, is why did we renew the contract, which is another way of saying, do you like the superintendent? As Bill said, when you have an employee and that the superintendent is an employee of the district, you can't just say, well, people don't like you, so goodbye. You have to give structured information and get structured goals and say, are you meeting those goals? So we are doing that, and if that's an issue, then that's an issue. But we do have to be professional about how we manage the superintendent, and she has set up some very good things for the school. I'd like her to continue that, so this next year will be a very telling year for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunita. Celeste?
So I would build off on what Sunita and Bill are saying. I think one thing we need as a district is, like Palo Alto, to have 3 to 5 very specific goals for our district that everyone understands. So we know, are we making progress towards those goals, and is our superintendent leading us? And it's very clear. We know the goals and the action plans. And then I would say the other really important piece is building trust going forward. So how do we do that? I think both we on the board need to be very present, active, visit schools, talk to people, talk to parents, talk to teachers, and also have the same expectation for our district leaders.
Can I respond a little bit? Is it possible to respond?
I mean, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, we can give you 30 seconds to
Yeah.
respond.
So this is where the board is coming to us, and then how are they not prepared for this in the first place of these agenda items? Not to mention that we just had a question of how do we teach teachers, and when teachers are saying, hey, this is not working, and you have to give them an extension, that kind of goes in the face of what we're experiencing, right? We can't get kids to class. 1 of every 5 kids is chronically delinquent. We go to the webpage, there's tons of openings. It's this type of unpreparedness that we need to fix. I mean, this shouldn't have been to this point in the first place. So even the structured guidelines, he's, again, been on the board for 2 years, and he's supposed to have this education and this experience. How is this now coming into play? Like, this should have been addressed earlier. If he was as experienced as he said he was, this is something that should have been a red flag to him from the get-go, and it wasn't. So this is the problem we're dealing with as a community in Santa Barbara, is not addressing these red flags early, or not acknowledging them, and this is what's causing the problems we're having.
All right, we're going to move on to the next subject, which is another big subject in the schools right now, literacy. We're going to start with you, Celeste, and move back down here. With the focus on the science of reading and literacy, what are some initiatives that you think the district should take to address literacy and reading scores?
Thank you. I think we need to be very clear about how we are going to make progress moving forward on literacy. It's not clear what the plan is right now. How many teachers are we training? How are we going to train them? Do we have early intervention for kindergartners, for first graders, for second graders? Basically we just need a very public plan that is aligned with best practices. another example, how are we intervening for students in junior high and high school who are not reading at grade level? 50% of our students are not reading at grade level, and that includes in our high schools. So basically we need to ensure that right now it is not clear to the public what we are planning to do to improve our reading scores, and I think we have many great examples. Even locally, Peabody, Hope, Goleta is moving this direction of how we can ensure more students read proficiently.
Thank you. And Sunita, your thoughts on literacy?
So I've been very interested in literacy. Actually, when my children were at Peabody, which has right now increasing literacy rates because they've developed a great strategy and program that they are training the teachers, and they've adopted the curriculum, and they're actually seeing the scores go up. It was a very well thought out plan, and they stuck to it, and they're seeing the results. I would like to say the same thing for Santa Barbara Unified. My children were at Peabody when they were young, and it was really interesting. English language learners were being placed in special education. And I met with Damian Barnett 2.5 years ago when Sherry Ray and Moni DeWitt were speaking about literacy. And I had to learn that you don't learn to read. It's not a natural thing like singing or talking. You have to learn how to read in a very specific way. It's not a natural human instinct. And I think that has been the big change that's happening in the district, is to understand that. And many of our teachers have been taught this basically balanced literacy, which is a way of teaching that doesn't teach children how to read and doesn't figure out which children are having trouble reading. So going to the science of reading, I definitely support it. As far as Santa Barbara Unified, we have adopted a curriculum, but what I can see is we don't have a clear plan, and I do think we need to do that, and we need to hold the district accountable to that plan.
Thank you. And Bill, your thoughts on literacy?
I will agree wholeheartedly that literacy is at the foundation of everything we do. Without good reading skills, there's almost nothing else that's going to work. And that goes for math as well as other subjects. So I am absolutely in support of it. I'm in support of district goals that get students to proficiency by the end of 3rd grade. I'm in support of doing whatever we need to do to get there. The science of reading is a phrase, and unfortunately in education, we're really good at gathering phrases and catchphrases and acronyms and things that we embrace and talk about, and eventually all they are is an echo chamber of a phrase. In this case, the science of reading is the actual proven method of making sure that kids are getting to literacy at the right time. And the school district is taking a strong direction, strong movement with the adoption of appropriate curriculum and training in methodologies that will help with that, in using the time resources that we have to make sure that students are given the best first level in-class initial instruction and the right implementation of interventions all the way up the scale as they're necessary. I could talk forever on this, but I think that the district is moving the right direction, and none of this can happen by saying, here's the textbook for science of reading. It has to happen with hard work and training and the ability to get people on board and all rowing in the same direction.
Thank you. Chris?
There's 2 things I'll agree with Bill on. I think the science of reading is a phrase that's popular, and the other thing is well, maybe I'm gonna go with just the one thing for right now. But the other thing is someone who's the only person on this panel who has actually taught kids recently how to read, because again, I'm only a year removed from teaching, so I've worked from K through 12. I work with kids in how to read. It's not one simple answer. It's a very complicated answer. So that's this. Sorry, Bill. That's the other part. I'll agree with Bill. Now, the other part with Sunita, I think you can't really compare apples to oranges in this case, because Peabody is more of an affluent school, and we're very impacted by socioeconomics, and the #1 indicator for student success is socioeconomics. And roughly 61% of our demographic is on the wrong side of that. So you also have to understand the logistics of trying to implement these things as teachers, right? Because we're taught to do something the one way, and then we're forced and given these goals that were very vague and unclear because there's no guidance for it, which creates anxiety within the classroom, which filters down to the kids. So how it's implemented has also got to be in a very strategic manner in which everyone's willing to buy in. That being said, I personally like the Engage New York program. It's a very simple one because right now kids are struggling with all types of reading. This addresses reading, math, and following directions. And then once we're understanding of those things, they can move forward. We can get into the fun stuff of the children's books, the Dr. Seuss's, all the other type of stuff. But right now, those kids aren't accessing it because that's the other part. Sorry, I'll go over a few minutes, or just one more thing. Yeah. Kids nowadays are also impacted by technology and screens, which then is impacting the classroom, right? So that also is impacting what we're seeing. So they're developing later. So we can't rush kids into certain standards and metrics that they want to provide because every kid is different. And that's the pressure. We keep putting pressure on teachers and not understanding that we got to let kids be kids. We got to change the nurture. Like, you're not reading something. I got to force it on you. And then it just creates tension. And that's one of the reasons we're seeing the 1 in 5 delinquency rates. We got to, sometimes it's maybe take a step back and realize we just want to nurture the kids' love for reading more than we want to force them to be at a certain spot at a certain time in life. And so that's an oversimplified answer to a very complex question.
Thank you. And Felice?
Pardon me. Wow, what an exciting question. I would like to take you to another perspective. Being a gifted educator, I have a master's in communications and criminal justice and art. And I find an interesting perspective here. How do you motivate a child to become a better learner? Of course, we need to be looking at, as you mentioned, literacy. I'll give you a perfect example. I have this creative idea of making children feel happy, excited, and interested in learning, meaning I make learning in class exciting, interesting. We talk about subjects, we talk about what's creative. Montessori effect has that you allow a child to discover his own interest and his own creativity. So as a literacy information that we're looking to get here, so here is the kicker. As a theater teacher, because this is what I used to do in Illinois for 20 years in a gifted program, Creative and Performing Arts Center, I think I mentioned it earlier, where we would draw students from the district and they would audition for the various arts that we offered at the Creative and Performing Arts Center. Being in theater, mind you, thank you so much, I know I have a couple of minutes left. Being in theater allows a child to focus on themselves. Where you create a focus, you allow a child to express who they are and what their interests are. And here is an interesting thing. Most people pay a lot of attention on the IQ of a child. The important thing is the EQ. If a child is not ready to learn in a classroom, no matter what teaching you put out that's exciting and beautiful, they will not hear it. We need to start to look at the attention of what does a child need, how better can he learn, because if he is happy, if he is open to learning, literacy is open to anything. Psychology you can talk about science, you can talk about history, math. I make math an exciting game in my classroom. Kids love to play math. Kids love to do reading because we're going to play reading. We incorporate theater, acting out in our reading activities. They love to read. I have kindergartners that are spending time with me during a summer on a gifted program. They actually ended up doing second grade math. And they actually can identify letters, they can write their names, and they are very excited in participating about learning about value of money. And that's exciting for me as well. Thank you. We can motivate children. You know, you're talking about literacy and how we're going to teach children to be more excited about life. We need to be more excited as teachers as well. We need to be performing. In my classroom, I had a sign above my stage, the world is a stage and we're all players. I would ask my students, so who are you playing today? Because we want to motivate people to be excited about learning. How do you teach? Be excited yourself. Share your information. I have a lot of stories to tell. I lived in Israel, I lived in Poland, I was raised in Germany as well, Italy and France. I am a loaded person. When I come to class, they say, Ms. Cohen, tell us stories. You have to be entertaining. You have to motivate people. That's how you develop literacy, and you teach them to be better individuals so they can contribute to their communities. We grow communities, we grow students,
Thank you, Felice.
and we have a better life. Thank you.
Celeste and Sunita, did you want to make a quick rebuttal of like strict 30 seconds?
I just have a very short comment about kids who are socioeconomically disadvantaged, just a response to what Chris is saying. And I think, so the California Reading Coalition has a really interesting, they've ranked all of the districts in California based on socioeconomically disadvantaged students so that you can compare how those students are doing in each district. And the idea is basically that any child can learn how to read despite their circumstances. I'm running out of time, so I'll let Sunita respond, but I guess the other resource is the Reading League. It talks a lot about structured literacy and how we teach, how we can teach children despite their backgrounds.
Yes, and I'll just continue with Celeste, is the fact that this structured literacy, science of reading is part of that. Structured literacy is more of a bigger umbrella, which actually includes English language learners, is that it is a method where you start at the very youngest age so students can read. Nobody's trying to force kids who don't want to read. We want them to be able to read, to become engaged in school, and to get a full experience in their education because they have skills to be students. We do want to engage. School should be entertaining and fun, but reading is fundamental to their education. If we can't get there, we're not giving them equity at all.
Okay, great. Thank you all. And then I think we're back on Felice to start. Yes, so Felice, we'll start with you for this next question. Governor Gavin Newsom just passed the Phone Free Schools Act in an attempt to limit the use of cell phones at schools. And I know that Santa Barbara Unified has made recent attempts to limit them as well. But what policies or actions would you like to see the district implement in response going forward?
Thank you. Excellent question. Excellent. I think part of the problem that we find in the classroom is that children are not engaged because they are focused on their iPhones, which unfortunately distracts them a lot in the classroom, and it distracts the teaching as well. Did you know that in China, they only allow the students to practice to be on their phones or on their iPads for only an hour to 2 hours per day? And in our country, our children spend so much time on them, cannot put a sentence together. Their writing skills are so terrible. They cannot identify capital letters. This is the trend in the classrooms anymore. So the writing skills are completely out the window. Application for a job. So to answer your question, I think we need to limit the time that children spend at home.
Chris?
As someone who's experienced the cell phone culture in a high school setting, it is spend more time on their phone than anything else. It stunts emotional growth. It increases anxiety.
Yeah.
Conflict. I was from day one. There's two parts of this, and I'll make it quick. There's two parts. From day one, I was always a cell phone hotel guy. Tenants based on if their cell phone was in their cubby assigned to their number.
To social media and their phones at all times. So I think we definitely need to look at this more. It is amazing that we have implemented cell phone hotels. I think that is an excellent first step. But I also think as we walk around schools, I'm hearing from many parents that students are looking at their phones instead of speaking to each other at lunchtime or in the hallways. And socialization at school is really incredibly important. So that would be my approach.
Thank you. Chris, yeah, you got 30 seconds.
Okay, so as far as cell phones in the classroom, as someone, again, the only person who's been in the actual classroom experienced this, there's two things. We don't have a very big call center for 911, so if 1,000 kids are calling 911, there's typically 3 to 5 people in there, so they can't flood the call center. Two, they can get an Apple Watch, which is cheaper than the cell phone without all the ancillary stuff. They can still text mom, I'm okay, and they can still do all that stuff from a smartwatch. They don't necessarily need a cell phone to be communicative with their parents. They can do it through other means. Email through their school iPad, again, a smartwatch. They don't need the cell phones to get the same message across.
Thank you. Bill, yes, you have 30 seconds.
One brief thing. I mentioned that the kids want this. What we're seeing, what the teachers are reporting, is that the engagement in the classroom this year is much better because of this. And the kids probably won't tell you, yes, take my cell phone away, but they're acknowledging as well that the focus on the attention on classroom and the type of things that they're doing with the phones in the hotels is really helpful.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the next topic, and it's going to be the arts. We're going to start with you, Celeste. So performing arts, music, and visual arts seem to be taking a backseat in our schools today. There's plenty of arts teachers that have spoken out about increasing access to arts and electives. Would you prioritize the arts through your leadership, and if so, how?
Yes, I think the arts are hugely important, and we've heard a lot about that. For example, with music in junior highs. I think one way we can approach this is really through strategic budgeting and strategic scheduling. There are a lot of really interesting ways to look at scheduling in elementary school, middle school, and high school that enables us to do everything, to have robust arts. So that is kind of what I would hope our district would do.
Thank you. Sunita?
So I agree with Celeste. Strategic budgeting is a big part of trying to keep arts, music in the schools. Being on the board, one thing that I didn't realize until I became part of the board is scheduling is actually a negotiated issue with the teachers. And so you can't just say, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to add this to your schedule. This is all negotiated. And so that becomes a more complex issue. Junior high is focused for me. I've talked about engagement, and I think when
Department, I incorporated it into the wood shop. I incorporated it into the art department. I mean,
Literacy covers everything. Theater, speaking, acting, feeling of their unfortunate confusion at an early age, fortunate confusion at an early age, children exposed to LGBTQ,
Critical race theory.
BGQ.
Critical race theory is another one of those terms.
Children to a wide variety of ideas is incredibly important. And they're
probably what is going to work. We are most afraid of school shootings.
Anita.
I just want to clarify, the panic button is to get the sheriff other way. So it took a while to understand how the money flows. Having said, it is a
confident. So that would be my approach.
Thank you so much. So we're going to move on. We have just a few more questions, and then we'll get before we adjourn this meeting. So another thing that
we're working.
Before we adjourn this meeting. So another thing that
We're working here, or this is not here, or this is not working. Or I understand where admin needs more or less support because, again, not working. Or I understand where admin needs more or less support because, again, we're all pretty bright up here, and I get it. But this is really a lot of work, and I'm sorry. Pretty bright up here, and I get it. But this is really a lot of work, and I'm sorry that just because you quote unquote
Is to govern in the school district, to oversee.
just because you quote unquote
Is to govern in the school district, to oversee and make policy, and make sure it's being put in. A board member and make sure it's being put in. A board member potentially three that have no experience on a board. At best, we're going to have three that have no experience on a board. At best, we're going to have.
we'll let you respond after everybody else has responded.
So am I going to speak on this?
Everybody else has responded.
So am I going to speak on this?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Okay, I just wasn't sure. I'd be happy to administrative staff and ask them. I just wasn't sure. I'd be happy to administrative staff and ask them to have the financial transparency. We can ask for that. Have the financial transparency. We can ask for that. We are the board. We can ask action that happens. And as a board, our board meetings are very important, and making those as accessible of their thoughts, and we should be able to do that.
very quickly tell it. So in Goleta, I co-founded a group of parents who advocated for science-based reading and read proficiently. Through that experience, I really learned that effective boards have a major impact on student achievement and well-being, and that we can really do a lot as a board. I think that our board currently is moving in the right direction, and there is more that we can continue to do. For example, time use studies. How are we spending our time meetings? I'd like to have these 3 to 5 specific goals, and then every board meeting spend at least 50% of the time talking about progress on those goals. So I think this is very typical of school, is a big cause of Sunita and Bill. Just that we, I see I have 1 second. So use our time as effectively as possible to make progress for students.
Thank you. And Chris, you have 30 seconds to respond.
So our current dashboard and our student data is atrocious. We have poor SPED results. We have poor teacher interactions with admin. It's a struggle. And again, he's been on the board for 2 years, and so at this stage, I think he would have enough insight and policy to make these changes, because boards make policy changes, and that's what these changes haven't been happening. And at this stage, he says he has 40 years of experience, but I feel like a little bit of, we have problems finding teachers everywhere. Everywhere, from Maine to San Diego, it's everywhere. And what we're doing is we keep having the same people in position to make the same decisions. It's like Einstein's theory of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again with the same mindset, expecting different results. We need change. I mean, teachers are crying for it everywhere. So, I mean, having someone who has experience and is going to be reasonable about it on the spot can speak with authority of what's reasonable and what's not as far as what change needs to happen on a policy type issue. And again, these aren't happening. That's the actions. Actions speak louder than words. That's what's currently happening.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. And then I had a question. What do you think about how the district has addressed equity, anti-bias, and anti-racism in schools and on campus? And what more do you think can and should be done? We'll start with Chris. Celeste. I'm so sorry.
So, well, I've spent 2 years advocating in Goleta, so I'm less up to date on what is going on in Santa Barbara in this in particular. And I think I will leave it to our current or our other speakers to address this.
Thank you, Celeste.
So the district has, had professional learning in terms of anti-bias, anti-blackness. We have a committee that is studying it, and we basically receive reports every 2 or 3 months that talks about incidents and how they've been handled. And so, yes, we have procedures in place. We are addressing it. But again, it's a cultural issue. So I do think that really it ties in, like Celeste said, having our students be engaged and having students be not bored and not trying to just fill their time is really a big step in making school a place where students want to be. They're not they are excited about being there. They're not going to do things out of boredom, and they're learning. So we talk about ethnic studies classes. They're learning about other people. They're learning about other cultures. And that's where it all comes from, the education. So we really just need to focus on the education and having the school be about education and having that be an engaging type of education so students can be in a good place.
Thank you, Sunita. Bill?
I would also like to support the work that's being done around these issues. There are statistics that tell us we still have lots of problems here. Chris would be familiar with the term disproportionality. This has to do with the number of particular kinds of identified demographic students that are identified for special education. If there's a small portion of the population that is English learners, but a large portion of the special ed population that's English learners, that's disproportionality. That's one of the things the work we're doing is working to address. I saw some alarming statistics at the last board meeting. We have very low suspensions and expulsion rates. We're competitive in doing as well as other schools in the county and better than the state. But when we look at the percentage of expulsions that happen, I believe I think the number was something like 17, and every one of them was Hispanic. So it's a teeny little portion, and by numbers that looks there. So the work needs to continue. This goes to my argument about stability and cohesiveness and connecting the work of the board and continuing what we're doing. We're making a difference in the right ways. There is definitely work that needs to be done.
Thank you, Bill. Chris?
You know, someone who puts his money where his mouth is, I got into education to work with the underserved youth. I got into special education specifically to work with this demographic, so I can speak with both authority and experience. And it's not an easy answer, and Bill's right, there is a disproportionality of if you walk into a special ed class, it's mostly Latino kids. And that has to stop. That's one of the reasons why I was saying, addressing this at a youth, being a little bit more serving. I mean, to this day, I don't know if the school board really truly knows what every child, every chance, every day means, because I'm in a special ed class with 24 kids in an 86-minute meeting with a 2nd to 4th grade education level, which is documented through data, and I have 4 minutes a kid with them. And then when someone like me has started to have panic attacks and physical ailments because I care about these kids, they tell me, nope, you don't have that. That's what I got from Santa Barbara Unified. That is Santa Barbara Unified. That's their actions. Their actions speak louder than words, and that's what they do. So as far as working with the underserved youth, that's why I'm running for school board. I'm running for school board for these kids. I built guitars not for the rich kids. I built because they're going to buy guitars. They can go out and buy a Paul Reed Smith. I wanted to be a farmer. I wanted to put these chances of putting music in their hands, experiencing this like culturally, being able to express themselves, you know, and it's rich for it. And they're a great group of people. And so that's where I'll just take a minute to breathe, but that's where I'm at with that one.
Thank you so much. We're going to get to our last questions before we give you guys a chance to do a closing statement, and then we'll get everybody out of here. We're going to try to end on kind of a positive note. So can you highlight one positive thing about SB Unified, and what's the district doing right, and what can be done to highlight or enhance this? And we'll start with you, Chris, and go down the line.
What's Santa Barbara doing right? You know, and again, I there's a lot of things personally where, because I worked with the lower groups, and so I dealt with 100 problems a day, so I felt jaded, which is one of the reasons why I walked away. I didn't see any right. But the one things I will say is that I thought how the kids interact with each other, whether your race or socio background, these kids generally liked each other. And then you do have issues with natural conflict with people, that's what we get in society, but it was really pleasant to see that the kids in Santa Barbara actually generally like each other. Like the groups of all, there's no big cliques. You know, they're kids, they'll interact with each other. And when I was in high school, everything was a clique. And it was really refreshing to see that there was this sense of bonding community within the kids in the high school. And that was something that I really enjoyed.
Thank you. Bill?
I'm going to come back to basics for this. Everything we're talking about tonight lives and dies with the teachers in the classroom. There is no question about that. The strength of this district is dedicated teachers. We've seen it. We saw them coming to board meetings. We saw the concerns. We've seen the kids coming and advocating. The teachers in this district are phenomenal. They have to be, as we've heard before. They're giving, they're coming and staying in this honorable, noble profession when they're being paid less than what similar jobs with the same kind of education have across the country. Without teachers, there's nothing here. I am absolutely in support of the teachers. I'd also like to point out the exceptional work that's going on in our high school academies. In the, you know, this district. I have for my closing statement, I want to say we've been hearing a lot about everything that's wrong, about the grievances, about what causes somebody to give up and walk away. It talks all about that kind of stuff. But the truth is, this district is doing well. Are we doing perfectly? Absolutely not. Are there things that we can do better? Absolutely. Our curriculum adoption is doing wonderful things. the science of reading. We're working on the mathematics right now, things that haven't been done for over a decade that should have been done on a more reasonable scale. There are endless things to be proud of in this school, this community. It's one of the reasons that I'm excited about being on this board, because I can take a good place and I can help it make it even better.
Thank you, Bill. Sunita.
So Santa Barbara is a wonderful community with a lot of resources, and that is the setting for our schools. And so we have a great setting. We have great teachers who, like we've heard, will do anything to be here for our students, including driving long distances. They want to be here for our students. That is our asset. We also have a community with resources that we just have to tap into those resources to make our school district stronger. So we have those resources that are available. So I think that's a great thing about the school district. And as a scientist, I love that we're now starting to take a data-informed approach towards reading, towards math, towards how we educate our students. So everything is kind of dovetailing. And one of the things that I noticed, after COVID, we started talking about mental health. We're talking about wellness. We're going to have a wellness institute at San Marcos. We're talking about career technical education. So students don't all have to go to college, because college is not this magic thing. You need to know what you like. So we're trying to get them to understand what they like, and then you can pursue what you want. So we're trying to teach students how to be well, how to know what they like, and how to take care of themselves. So this is just the great point to be in education, and I'm excited to be here for that.
Thank you, Sunita. And Celeste.
I would say I hear from so many parents and from students that they love their teachers. The theater program at Goleta Valley, I heard about that being amazing. We hear about coaches, amazing coaches. So I really think the people we have in Santa Barbara Unified are exceptional, and I think we can do great things going forward. So, and we are currently doing great things, and I think we will continue to. So, yeah.
Great, thank you, Celeste. And then I think we're going to move on to closing statements. So we will start with Celeste. I haven't been able to keep up this entire. You have 2 minutes.
Well, I just want to say thank you to the audience for being here. And the school board is at the bottom of the ballot, but is so important. I mean, it really impacts our children, grandchildren, all the children in our community. There are 13,000 children in our district. So I'm so happy you are all paying attention, and our school board makes decisions that really matter for all of them. So thank you for being a part of this conversation. I hope that, I really would like to hear from you. I have a website, CelesteCaffrey.com, and please contact me with your thoughts. And yes, I look forward to continuing to talk with you all.
Thank you so much, Celeste. Sunita.
Thank you for being here this evening. I am so excited that I was appointed to the school board, and I'm so excited to continue the work. I feel that, when I listen to everybody here, we have been doing the work. We're wanting to continue doing the work. It is a learning process. So as Celeste said, we are at the bottom of the ballot, but I do feel so strongly that children, they're our future. That seems like a silly statement, but these children, they are our future. They're going to take care of us. They're going to make the world a better place. And so it is important how we do that. And we do it in the best possible way. And so I'm excited to run for this. I appreciate the support. I do have a website also, sunitaforsb.com. And I do want to also say thank you for all the people who endorsed me. So Santa Barbara Women's Political Committee, Cause Action Fund, Democratic Women of Santa Barbara County, Santa Barbara County Democratic Party. I'm also looking for other endorsements, so I'll see if I get them. But I feel that I'm here to do the work. I'm here for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. And Bill, your closing statement.
One of the things that I had wanted to talk about, and I'm just going to take a minute, is that when I became the superintendent in Goleta, my letters of recommendation included the president of the union of the Solana Beach School District, where I negotiated with for 7 years. We built an incredible environment there. When I came to Goleta, the teachers union was at impasse. in mediation, about to go into impasse, much like we were in Santa Barbara. We got it settled real quickly when I came in and started to work on exactly what I want to work with the teachers union now, and that's developing the kind of collaborative environment that we did. We succeeded. By the time I retired in 2017, the Goleta School District had been among the first 50 school districts in the state of California that were invited to be the inaugural group to be this, what is now the California Labor Management Coalition that works on building relationships between labor and management. I would like to also say that this is a little awkward situation. I'm sitting here with two people that are running on the ballot with me. Unfortunately, fortunately, I don't know. My colleague on the board and Celeste, who I'm both of whom I'm supporting, are people that that their opponents aren't even here. I made a change from a trip I was supposed to do to my brother, his 80th birthday in North Carolina, so I could be here tonight and be part of this. That said, I think that it's important for us to recognize that two of the candidates here are fighting really hard to get onto a board that they're not on. Three. Two here, and Celeste, her opposition isn't here. Sunita and I are on the board. We're doing the work. We're doing it well. I would like to finish with just letting you know who my endorsers are. The Santa Barbara Democratic Party, Santa Barbara County, the Democratic Women of Santa Barbara County, the Cause Action Fund, the Santa Barbara Women's Political Committee, individuals including Salud Carbajal, Monique Limon, Greg Hart, Lois Capps, Joan Hartman, our current president of the board, Wendy Sims-Moten, Gabe Escobedo, also a board member, Rose Munoz, Rich Mayer, the 40-some-year veteran of the board in Goleta, Sholay Janghir, Goleta School Board, Joe Howell, currently on the County Board of Education, Ken Rivas, the CSEA chapter president in our school district, Paula Perotti, the mayor of Goleta, Oscar Gutierrez, City Council, Kyle Richards, Goleta City Council, Stuart Kasdan, Goleta City Council, Jen Checchio, a teacher in Goleta, who was the president of the UTPG, the teachers union in Goleta, during the time that I negotiated with her for over 5 years. And finally, Janet Wolf, former Santa Barbara County.
Things they want Goleta. And out of all those people he mentioned that are supporting him, the one group he's not mentioning is the teachers he's there to support. They're there to support me. So the people he's most dependent on, or the vice versa, they don't have any faith in him. And that should tell you that when you have a highly educated group of people, it's not working. I know it's not working. And again, I don't want to be here to badmouth anybody, because it's not productive in any sense. But at the same time, when change needs to be changed, you got to make change, and it's time to move on. And at this stage, I'm sorry, Bill, but it's just, you've had time. You've had 2 years to make changes. If you can't walk in there with all that experience you had and you can't see those changes, what makes it suddenly you're going to see those changes now? And so again, thank you all for your time. I'm sorry that I didn't necessarily come across as, I didn't mean to be anything other than straightforward and just let the truth state itself. The kids are struggling, the teachers are struggling, and you're in charge of all of that. And so, I mean, that's now on the voters' decision. Do you want to continue to let teachers and students struggle? Then Bill's your guy. And if you want to make changes, then vote Chris Wachowski.
May I respond?
Sure, we'll give you 30 seconds.
The teachers union chose not to endorse me. They've chosen to endorse Chris. Yet, I have had communication with the teachers who have said, and I have said to them, they've said to me, if you're elected, we hope we're going to be able to continue to work with you to do these things. And I have made that commitment. I support the teachers. I just want to say that being effective as a doctor, as an advocate, as a teacher, these are all things that we can all brag about what we're effective to do to be. I have the experience of being a superintendent, being on a board, running a governing board, and helping governing boards throughout the state. There is work to be done, and I believe that I am the best candidate, the best candidate for District 3 for the board.
And with that, we really appreciate all your time, and we really appreciate all the candidates for making the time to come out and speak to the voters. And thank you all for coming, and thank you for holding your applause. You can give them all a round of applause now. And once again, I'm Ryan Cruz, this is Kelly Fauzi, and thank you to Gary Atkins for providing the sound, Silvia Uribe for translation, and of course to DP News for handling the live stream. So thank you all for coming out tonight, and you have a safe rest of the night. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Sorry.